What if the charming billionaire who draws you into his glittering world with perfect dates and deep conversations is hiding secrets so carefully guarded that loving him means quietly turning into your own detective? And the real question is not whether his wealth can make life feel like a dream, but am I brave enough to follow the small clues one by one, even if they lead to answers I might not want to hear? So grab your favorite drink, get comfortable on the couch, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications because you are about to hear the real story. The one where I actually dated the billionaire with a mystery that kept unraveling in ways I never saw coming. This is not fiction. This happened to me. Let us begin. It all began on a cool spring evening in Chicago. I was at a private event for high-end professionals at a rooftop lounge overlooking the river. The invitation came through my work as a digital media specialist. I create content and strategies for luxury brands, turning their stories into beautiful posts that make people dream. At 35, my job puts me in rooms full of successful people, but my own evenings are usually quiet, scrolling through ideas, texting friends, and wondering if real connection is just something I write about for other people. That night, the room was filled with soft music, champagne, and conversations about investments and travel. I was there to network for a new client. Then I noticed him across the crowd. Tall, dark hair with a touch of gray hazel eyes that caught the light. He stood talking to a small group, but his gaze kept drifting my way. When our eyes met, he smiled and walked over. "Victoria, right?" he said. "I saw your name on the guest list. Your work for that new hotel brand is everywhere. Impressive." I smiled back. "Alexander Thorne. I know your name from the news. Thorne Capital is hard to miss." He laughed softly. "Guilty. But tonight I'm just here for the view and good conversation. Can I get you a drink?" We talked for over an hour. He asked about my job, how I decide what stories to tell online, and listened like every word mattered. I asked about his world of big investments and new companies. He answered easily, but there was something careful in his replies, like he chose each word. When the event ended, he asked for my number. "I would like to continue this. Dinner this week?" I gave it to him. As I left, my phone buzzed with a text. "Looking forward to it, Alex." I looked him up that night, just out of habit. Articles praised his success. Smart deals, generous donations, clean reputation, no drama. But one small mention caught my eye. A former business partner named Valerie Lang, who left the company years ago. No explanation. I closed the tab and went to bed, feeling that small spark of curiosity. Our first date was at a quiet restaurant with lake views. He arrived early, stood when I approached, and pulled out my chair. We talked for hours. He shared stories about starting his company young, the long nights, the risks that paid off. I told him about growing up in a small town near Milwaukee, moving to Chicago for school, and building my career one post at a time. He listened closely, asked thoughtful questions, and made me laugh with dry humor. When we said goodnight, he kissed my cheek softly. "You are different, Victoria, refreshing." The next weeks felt magical. Flowers arrived at my door with notes like, "For the woman who sees beauty in details." He sent thoughtful messages every morning. A photo of the sunrise from his office with "Thinking of you." We went to art galleries he loved, walks along the river, dinners at places I had only written about. Every time we were together, the rest of the world faded. My heart raced when he texted. I smiled at my phone like a teenager. Nothing else seemed important. But small things started to stand out. One evening, while we were having coffee at his place, his phone lit up on the table. He glanced at it and turned it face down. I saw the name flash. V. Lang. He smiled and changed the subject, but the name stayed in my mind. Later that night, alone, I searched quietly. Valerie Lang had been a key person at Thorne Capital early on. She helped build some of the biggest deals. Then she left suddenly. No public reason. Just a short note in old business news. Mutual decision to part ways. I did not mention it. Instead, I watched. The next time we were together, his phone buzzed again during dinner. He excused himself to take the call in another room. I heard his voice, low and firm. "Not now. We will handle it later." When he returned, he looked calm. "Sorry, Old business. I nodded, but the questions grew. A few days later, a small gift arrived, a beautiful leather journal with a note. For your ideas and stories. Some things are better left as mysteries. Alex. It felt sweet, but the words lingered like a gentle warning. Then came the first real clue. We planned a weekend at his country house outside the city. While he was on a meeting call, I noticed an open email on his tablet, the subject line, Zurich update, VL. The body was short. Transfer confirmed. Keep quiet until next quarter. Zurich. The old business news had mentioned Valerie traveling there often. My stomach twisted. I closed the tablet and said nothing. But that night, as we sat by the fire, I asked softly, "Do you still work with people from your early days?" He looked at me for a long moment. Some connections never fully close. Why do you ask? Just curious. Part of my job is noticing patterns. He smiled, but his eyes were careful. Most patterns are boring. Yours are more interesting. We kissed then, slow and warm, and for a while the questions faded. Being with him felt right. Safe. Exciting. Like nothing could touch us. But the next week he canceled a dinner last minute. Urgent trip to New York, he said. Back in 2 days. I wished him safe travels. Then, out of habit, I checked flight trackers for private planes linked to his company. One left for Zurich that evening, not New York. The pieces started to fit, but not in a way I liked. I waited until he returned. Over lunch, I asked gently, "How was New York?" He met my eyes. Busy, the usual meetings. I held his gaze. "Alex, I know the plane went to Zurich. And I know the name Valerie Lang. What is really going on?" He went still. Then he exhaled slowly. "You are good at your job." He reached for my hand. Valerie was my partner when I started the company. We built it together. She left after we disagreed on a big decision. She wanted to take a different path. I stayed. Now she is back, asking for a share of an old investment that is paying off. I said no. She is not happy with this. Is that everything? He nodded. That is the truth. I should have told you. I did not want old issues to touch what we have. I searched his face. He looked open. A little tired. We talked for a long time. He showed me old emails and papers from the disagreement. It looked real. That evening we walked along the lake. He held my hand tightly. I do not want secrets between us, Victoria. I care about you too much. I squeezed his hand. I care about you too. The feelings were strong. When he looked at me, when he kissed me goodnight, my heart felt full. The questions quieted, but they did not disappear. A few days later, another small clue appeared. An email to my work inbox from an unknown sender. Ask him about the Zurich account, VL. I stared at it. Then I asked him one quiet night, "Is there anything else about Zurich I should know?" He took a deep breath. Valerie is trying to reopen an old deal. She thinks she has a claim. My lawyers are handling it. It will be over soon. He pulled me close. I promise no more surprises. I wanted to believe him. And in his arms, with the city lights below us, it was easy to let the questions wait. Because loving him felt like the biggest story I had ever chased. And for now, the mystery made the moments sweeter. The truth could come later. One careful clue at a time. What happens when the clues you uncover about the man you love start to paint a picture so strange and unsettling that every kiss feels like a step deeper into the unknown? And the hardest question is not why he keeps these secrets, but am I falling too hard to see the full truth before it pulls me under completely? The days after that lunch blurred into a sweet routine that felt almost too perfect. Alexander texted every morning with small surprises, a fresh coffee from my favorite spot delivered to my door, or a link to an article he thought I would enjoy. We met for quiet walks along the river, where he held my hand and talked about his dreams for the future, making me feel like I was part of them. My heart fluttered at every glance, every gentle touch. It was that teenage rush all over again, where the world narrowed to just us and nothing else seemed to matter. Friends called less often. Work felt like something I did between our moments together. But underneath it all, the questions lingered like shadows at the edge of the light. One afternoon, while working on a new campaign for a luxury watch brand, an anonymous email popped into my inbox. The subject: look closer at Zurich. Inside was a single line. Account 7421. Ask him about the shadows. No sender. No signature. My fingers hovered over the delete button, but curiosity won. I searched quietly for Thorn Capital Zurich account 7421. Buried in an old financial forum was a thread. Whispers about a private Swiss account linked to art dealings, not the usual investments. One user claimed it funded hidden collections that never saw the light of day. Strange. Alexander had mentioned loving art, but never anything like this. I pushed it aside for our date that evening. He took me to a small gallery opening in Wicker Park, where we wandered hand in hand among abstract paintings. He stopped at one piece, a swirling mix of dark blues and hidden shapes. "This reminds me of life," he said softly. "Beautiful on the surface, but full of layers underneath." I looked at him. "Do you have layers like that?" He met my eyes, his hazel gaze steady. "Everyone does. Some are better left in the dark." We left early and went back to his place. Over wine on the balcony, I asked lightly, "What do you know about hidden art collections?" He paused, glass halfway to his lips. "Why do you ask?" "Just something I read for work." Made me think. He set the glass down. "Art can be a tricky world. Some pieces are not meant for everyone to see." His voice was calm, but his hand tightened slightly on the railing. That night, as we said goodnight, he kissed me longer than usual, like he was holding on. I went home feeling warm, but the email nagged at me. Who sent it, and why now? The next clue came without warning. Alexander invited me to his office for lunch. While he stepped out to take a call, I noticed a small key on his desk, attached to a tag that said Vault 3. Curious, I picked it up. It felt heavy, old-fashioned. I put it back quickly when I heard him return, but the word vault stuck in my mind. Later that day, another delivery arrived at my apartment. A small painting, unsigned, with deep shadows and hidden figures. The note: "For your collection. Some art holds secrets. Alex." My pulse quickened. Was this a hint, or just a gift? I hung it on my wall, but every time I looked at it, questions swirled. What was in Vault 3? And why did the painting feel like a message? Drama built slowly, like storm clouds gathering. One evening, we were at a quiet dinner when his phone buzzed again. He checked it, his face paling slightly. "I need to handle this," he said, stepping outside. Through the window, I saw him pacing, voice raised but too low to hear. When he came back, he looked shaken. "Everything okay?" I asked. He forced a smile. "Old friend in trouble." "Nothing I cannot fix." But that night, lying awake, I could not let it go. I searched Thorn Capital Vault. Nothing direct, but a deep dive into old real estate records showed his company owned a private storage facility in the suburbs, listed as secure archive. What could be there? I nodded, but inside, the open questions burned. Was the relic real? Did the curse exist, or was it all a cover for something simpler, like stolen goods? Who sent the carving? And the deepest, if love meant chasing these shadows, was I ready for where they led? For now his arms felt safe. But the mystery grew, pulling me deeper, one shocking clue at a time. And with every step, the drama made my heart race faster, wondering if the truth would set us free or tear us apart. The weeks after that night in the vault felt like walking a tightrope between love and doubt. Alexander seemed more attentive than ever. He surprised me with a weekend trip to a quiet cabin in Wisconsin, where we spent days by the fire, talking about nothing and everything. He held me close, his hazel eyes full of warmth, and whispered how much he needed me in his life. The teenage flutter came back stronger each time, making the questions feel smaller. But they never went away. Who was Evie? How did Valerie get that carving? And why did the curse story feel more like a fairy tale than a fact? One morning, back in the city, another gift arrived at my door. A pair of diamond earrings from a famous jeweler, sparkling like stars. The note said, "For the light you bring to my shadows, wear them tonight. Dinner at 8. Alex." My breath caught. They were beautiful, worth more than my rent for months. I tried them on, feeling special, but a small voice whispered, "Why now?" Was this just to make me smile or to shift my focus from the vault and its missing items? That evening, over steak at a rooftop spot with views of the skyline, he reached across the table and took my hand. "You look stunning," he said. "Those earrings suit you. I want to spoil you, Victoria. You deserve it after all the questions I have put you through." I smiled, but the words stuck. "Alex, about the vault. Have you heard from Valerie?" He waved it off gently. "She is quiet for now. Let us not talk about that tonight. This is about us." He ordered another bottle of wine, the kind that costs a fortune, and changed the subject to plans for a trip to Paris. The night ended with a long kiss under the stars, his arms around me making everything feel right. But as I went home, the earrings felt heavy. Was he buying time? Or buying my silence? The next clue slipped in quietly. I was at work, building a social media plan for a high-end jewelry line, when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Check Thorn Capital Finances. Not as solid as they seem. EV." My stomach dropped. EV again. I waited until evening to search. Using my skills from past stories, I dug into public records. Thorn Capital looked strong on top, but deeper filings showed loans from overseas banks, big ones. Whispers in business forums talked about quiet debts from bad investments years ago. Alexander the billionaire in debt? It did not fit. That night, I asked him over coffee at my place, "Alex, is your company okay?" I saw some old reports about loans. His face tightened for a split second. Then he smiled. "Every big company has debts. It is how we grow. Do not worry." He pulled a small box from his pocket, a necklace to match the earrings, with a rare gem in the center. "This is for you. To remind you how precious you are." The gift was stunning. I let him put it on me, his fingers brushing my neck, sending that familiar rush through me. We spent the evening close, talking softly, and for a while, the questions faded under the weight of his attention. But later, alone, I stared at the necklace. Was this love or a way to keep my eyes on the sparkle instead of the shadows? Drama built like a slow storm. Valerie called again, her voice sharp. "Meet me. Alone. I have proof he is lying." I agreed, heart pounding, and we sat in a dim cafe across town. She slid a folder across the table. Inside, photos of old items, relics like the carving, sold at private auctions, prices in the millions. "These are from Father's collection," she said. "Alex sold them on the black market. No curse. Just greed. He made up the stories to hide it. He has debts, Victoria. Big ones from failed deals. He needs the money." I stared at the papers. Dates matched his trips. Buyers listed as anonymous. But one name stood out. E.V. Elias Voss, a known dealer in rare goods, linked to underground sales. "Why tell me?" I asked. "Because he will drag you down. The curse is his lie to scare people away. He sold the missing relic last month. Through Zurich." My world tilted. Greedy? Black market? Debts? This was not the man I knew. The one who cooked dinner and held me like I was his world. But the proof sat there, cold and clear. I left shaking. That evening, Alexander surprised me with tickets to a show. Front row, followed by a late supper at a spot only the rich know. "To make up for the stress," he said, kissing my forehead. I went along, smiling, but my mind raced. Was every gift a distraction? Every trip, a way to steal my focus from the truth? Open questions flooded me. If the curse was fake, what else was? Did he love me or need me to stay quiet? Who was Elias Voss really? And the biggest, if he was selling on the black market to pay debts, how deep did this go? Was I just another piece in his game? The next day, I followed a lead. The folder had an address for a storage unit tied to Elias. I drove there, parked across the street, and watched. A car pulled up. Alexander's. He went inside, came out with a small case. My breath stopped. What was in it? Another relic? That night I confronted him at his place. "Alex, I met Valerie. She showed me proof, The sales. The black market. The debts. No curse. Just lies. His face crumpled. He sat down, head in hands. It is true. All of it. The company hit hard times. Bad investments. I owed millions. Father's collection was my way out. I sold pieces quietly through Elias. He handles the underground buyers. The curse story? I made it up to keep Valerie away, to stop questions. I did not want you to know. Tears filled my eyes. Why me? The gifts, the trips. Was it all to keep me from looking? He looked up, eyes pleading. No, I love you, Victoria. The gifts were real. But yes, I hoped they would help you see the good, not the mess. I was scared you would leave. The room spun. Greedy, in debt, lying about black market sales. Shocking, not the fairy tale I imagined. We talked for hours. He promised to stop, to pay debts the right way, to tell Valerie everything. But doubt stayed. As he held me, whispering sorry, the questions burned. Could I trust him now? Was the love real or part of the distraction? What if more relics were out there, pulling him back? And the deepest, if greed drove him this far, would it stop or pull me in too? Drama hung in the air like fog. The next morning, another gift arrived. A bracelet, even pricier than before, with a note. For a fresh start. Forgive me. I stared at it, heart torn. The shine was tempting, but the shadows felt darker. Open questions kept me up that night. Was Elias a partner, or a threat? Did Valerie tell everything, or hold back? And if Alexander's world was built on hidden sales and debts, was there room for real love, or just more distractions? For now I held the bracelet, feeling its weight. The mystery was not over. It had just turned a corner I never expected. One shocking revelation at a time. And with every step, the drama made me question if the man I loved was worth the price. And just like that, the glittering distractions faded. The questions turned into answers I never wanted. And I walked away from the man who once made my heart race like no one else ever had. I could not help but wonder if love in this city is always part dream, part detective work, and part hard lesson. Sometimes the richest lives hide the emptiest truths. Sometimes the most expensive gifts come with the heaviest price. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is see clearly, choose yourself, and keep walking. This story, it is real. Every late-night text, every sparkling gift, every quiet clue that led to the truth that happened. It might sound too cinematic, too dramatic for real life, but real life rarely comes with a script. It just hands you the moments, the heartbreak, and the strength to decide what comes next. If this story hit home, if it made you think about your own questions or the people in your life, drop a like, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next one. Real stories like this keep coming. And in the comments below, tell me, have you ever had to play detective in your own love story? What did you find? I read every single one. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind to yourself, and remember, sometimes the biggest plot twist is choosing your own ending. Thanks for watching. See you in the next story.